I think you are muted, Will.
Perfect. All right.
There we go.
You want to go ahead and kick this off?
Let's kick it off.
All right.
Hello,
Happy
everyone.
Friday, everyone. I just want to say thank you for joining us for the second Riff and Refine. Today is going to be me, Will King, with me, Josh Cirre. Our first take at what you can expect from the show moving forward. We have some goodies. So I think without further ado, too much grandstanding, let's just jump right on in. Why don't you tell
Let's
us
jump in.
what you've been up to, Josh?
Yeah, this week, what I have been up to, I'm excited to be back. First of all, this week, what I've been up to from a personal standpoint is mostly, mostly a lot of work stuff. But outside of that, if I wanted to like stretch it for about like, okay, I've been prepping for, I'm going to be in London next week. And so,
snap, I forgot about that.
yeah,
You're
I'm gonna be
speaking at it, right? Speaking at
yeah,
London Laravel Live?
Laravel Live London. I'm speaking there on London time Tuesday. It's probably Tuesday my time here anyways. But I leave this Sunday night and I get back next Thursday evening. So yeah, I'm excited for that, but I've mostly been just like prepping for that. But in my preparation for that, usually when I'm prepping for stuff or like making videos, I'm like tinkering a lot more than usual.
Right.
And so this week has mostly been a lot of tinkering onto mobile application type stuff, local first type stuff, and then a lot of like streaming. So like event streams, source streams,
Okay.
like
Yeah,
browser.
I was wondering what kind of streaming we're talking about. Sounds
Just
like
Netflix.
very AI. Yeah. Lots of
Very AI.
streaming in AI applications these days.
Yeah. What about you? What's been up with you for this week, Will? Tell me.
The cat's out of the bag. I guess I should address the elephant in the room, which is the company that I work for got acquired.
Okay.
I work for Crunchy Data. They got acquired by Snowflake. So that has been all right. Let me just tell you a story. So it's Monday, and Monday morning, Allie had my wife. She has rheumatoid arthritis. We had to go to a doctor's appointment that morning, and I went with her. And so I was out like the first part of the morning, and then I come back and I'm like, okay, we get kids down for like lunch and nap. And I'm like, all right, I'm heads down. I'm getting stuff down to like make up for missing part of the morning. There were things I needed to get done. And I'm just heads down. And suddenly my boss texts me and is just like, hey, are you available? I'm like, okay, he never texts me. Like, why am text message from my boss? Like,
I'm getting
hey,
fired.
Are you available? And I'm like, oh no, I'm getting fired. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I jump on a call and it's the entire front end team. And
oh
like,
no.
Oh shoot. Like it's a firing squad. Like I'm straight up getting like blasted by the whole team. And Craig just looks, Craig, my boss, is just like, so any questions? I'm like looking around like, questions about what? Like, what is this? What is happening right now? Like, I'm so confused. I have no idea what's going on. And Craig just goes, Will, you've not checked your email, have you? And like an hour and a half earlier, because I was heads down and was not paying a lick of attention, we had gotten, an email that was like, hey, like Crunchy's been acquired by blah, blah, blah. And like, we had the whole meeting, but it was just like to me, it was like the most Will King moment of like, I'd get in this meeting and our whole company, like we got acquired. It's like really huge news. And I'm just like, what's going on? I have no idea. So that was my Monday. And
That's
then
crazy.
The rest of the week's just been, acclimating to that. A lot of people sent really nice messages and got to chat with a bunch of people. I'm very excited about that. I'm not going to dig into too much because I don't know too much at the moment. But other than that, I've been working on my demo for my Laravel talk in July, which I want to demo not today, but next week. I think it's going to be demoable just to kind of give everybody like a preview of what I've been doing. So I'll share that next week.
Nice.
But it is coming along really well. I'm very excited about it. And I just love Laravel inertia. So good. Such a good combination as a React boy. So
see, I feel like I am still very much behind on, I'm not a very good inertia developer. Like I still haven't married the two very well yet. I'm getting better the more demos I have to like put together and like the more I have to work with it. I'm used to it. It's just a completely different mindset shift for me when I have to build. Even earlier this morning,
Or is it because like you're very familiar with like you're used to using Livewire, or is it because like you're used to using JavaScript like React in a different way?
It's probably the React in a different way piece. So I was never
Right.
used to the separation of concerns MVC type stuff. And so when I got into Laravel, like it just didn't blend well with my mind of like, oh, I create a controller and then I make sure the route is hooked up to that controller and then I create the view and I'm doing all of that. I think I was more used to in my Svelte kit and my next stuff, like I was always doing like client side Firebase, client side Supabase, and just kind of like having it all in one file.
Like your back end, like you had a very thin back end before.
Yes.
So it's like what's new is the fact that like you're writing back end logic and not just like putting stuff in a database and pulling stuff out and doing a ton of work on the front end.
Yep.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense to me. I'm used to it at this point. I jumped over and it felt really good because I'd been using like we use Remix for like
that's a very much separation.
Right. It's got it's like I mean it's all JavaScript, but there's this like concept of like server stuff and client stuff. Which feels really nice. And then jumping into Laravel is like a breath of fresh air because like Laravel has like everything that comes with it. Like anytime I had an idea for something or like I needed something, I didn't have to write something or like find some random package. It was just like, oh, Laravel already does that. Pretty great.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's jump right into
the show, huh?
Jump into some links and topics, my friend. You've got a good one here. I think
I've got a link I found. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm probably not gonna read it or like pull it up onto the video, but
sure.
I think it'd be awesome.
I'll post it in chat.
Yeah, let's do that. Post it in chats. It's gonna be in the description as well for those watching later, everything like that. But this was one that I found that I was like, one, I'd love to like to talk about it. And then two, like I'm curious of like what this actually means, or if you 100%. Agree, disagree. So this is Claude Code is my computer. And the whole premise of this is this one dude. First of all, I've been using Claude Code for a while. Like I've been using it probably like mostly because like on the Claude Max plan, which is like $200 a month. I tried out Claude Code outside of the Max plan. And I was like, oh, let me see what this looks like. And like I spent like $100 in like API credits, like in the first like day. And I was like, oh, this is really cool. And I'm like, oh, if it's a day, I might as well spend $200 a month and just use it unlimitedly. But for those who don't know, Claude Code basically runs in your CLI, and it's essentially whatever permissions you give it within that specific directory, it will run tasks with using Claude Opus 4 or Sonnet 4 as well. And then it will just do things. And so I found that it works better. It connects to any like MCP servers you connect it to. It's, it knows everything about your directory and like your files because it can, run commands for you and everything like that. And I found it like works really great. And then I came across this article that they were like, I run Claude Code in no prompt mode. It saves me an hour a day and hasn't broken my Mac in 2 months. The $200 a month Max plan pays for itself. For the past 2 months, I've been living dangerously. I launched Claude Code with this --dangerously --skip -permissions flag. It bypasses all permission prompts, and it's only really meant for, according to Anthropic's docs, only for Docker containers with no internet. Yet it runs perfectly on regular Mac OS. A rogue prompt could theoretically nuke my system. That's why I keep hourly Arc snapshots plus a super duper clone. But after 2 months, I've had 0 incidents.
Wow. Sounds like a Terminator situation they're worried about. No, please do not let it connect to the internet.
Do not do this. Yeah, it goes into detail again, like
how is it, like what are the, if you had to highlight the things that he uses it for that are like you are useful?
Yeah, like that was the part that like, because I'm one that I feel like I'm still behind when it comes to like MCP stuff. I'm like, okay, I get it. I get it in the sense of like documentation. You want something up to date, or if you wanted to do something that you would otherwise like click through and you're like, hey, this is exactly how you press these 5 buttons in Slack or Linear. And if you wanted the AI to automate that, I get it. But I'm never like, oh, let me please AI, like text my whole family, tell them I'm going to be late for dinner. Like it's just, it's easier to me, I guess, in some ways.
Yeah. There's just like, the way I think about it is just like, you have to be that type of person, you have to like rewire your brain. And I think at some point, it will, like, things will start changing to where it's more of like a fundamental shift in like how people start doing things. But that doesn't like, I have such ingrained speed at the existing things that I've not like thought about like the tooling so much. I use Cursor, so it like I'm not like I enjoy using AI, and AI is very useful for a number of things. But yeah, just this like concept of like letting AI run different parts of your like life and like take over for things. I'm like, I've thought about it. Like I've read the articles on it, and I just honestly don't know of things in my life where I'm like, man, this part of my life feels very inefficient. You know, like the parts of my life right now that feel very inefficient right now is like parenting. And like, sorry, AI can't parent my children.
Yet.
Yeah. So it's just like, I think this stuff's very interesting and it's cool to read. Like maybe I try to learn something out of it. But man, just like being like shooting whatever, like be my computer. I'm going to tell you everything to do and you just like figure it out.
Yeah. And that's the piece that I'm like still reconciling with, and why like this article was interesting, because like I definitely get it for the, hey, I had this feature that I just implemented, write a test, and now I'm, either working on a different part of the code base, or 100%. I'm, in Slack or like recording a video, and it just running in the background is so nice. But like the article talks about how using it for things like hiding recent apps in the dock of like your OS, or like telling it to break everything in logical chunks and make sure to like commit frequently, or even like formatting markdown documents that are like being published. And so I guess like the disconnect where I'm
somebody who, I guess if you're like I don't know, like maybe it'll become a bigger thing for us.
Yeah.
As we start doing this more, because I'm just thinking about like in my day-to-day job, like I don't do just a ton of other stuff that isn't just like creative work.
No.
And like I use tools for that sometimes, but there's not like a lot of like repetition. Like I'm generally doing new things in new ways outside of work, and like I have workflows for inside of work. But like now that we're trying to start this channel, start this show, maybe we will find more usefulness for these type of things in like, I don't know.
Yeah.
LOL.
Emma says the idea of texting my wife from AI feels weird. Yeah, but it's stuff like that I know like people are using it for, but like the sense of like I don't know, like the sense of, if I had this, I'm done with work, or I'm starting work kind of, I don't know, template or like process where it's like, it turns all my lights on, it does all that. Like I do agree that like I have that, or like, I don't know, it tells my wife, hey, I'm in a meeting, like there's stuff that I can see that kind of like automation, but I also I haven't reconciled the path of like, I'd rather automate it to a specific like trigger, like the time, or I press a button, or I do like a keystroke, instead of saying, hey, why don't you start
you still want control. Like, to me, AI is still too, what's the word they use for it? Non-deterministic. AI is still too non-deterministic to me for me to like hand over. I don't know. This makes me think of Aaron's video, his AI video recently. We can put the description later, because I don't remember what it's called at the moment. But he has this AI video where he talks about like where AI is extremely useful in his workflow, and where it's just extremely useful to just automate the old way. Like use code for the things that need to be very deterministic and is like very straightforward with code, and then use AI for the things that are not easy to do already. And I really like that video. It's a good one that I think kind of aligns with the way I'm thinking about AI tooling at the moment. But I'm excited to reading stuff like this makes me want to push that boundary and try things.
And that's the piece that, like, the wrap up, there's a segment in there that's wrapping up. It says like where this is heading, and it's talking about how it presents a paradigm shift from tools that help you run commands to tools that understand intent and take action. I'm not just typing commands faster. I'm operating at a fundamentally higher level of abstraction. Instead of thinking I need to write a bash script to process these files, chmod it, test it, debug it, I think organize these files by date and compress anything older than 30 days. And I think like that's the piece that I feel like I just got into the flow as a developer of, oh, instead of just organizing files by date and compressing anything, oh, I should make sure I like write a script to do X, Y, or Z and like do all this. So it feels like I just got into this thought process, but now I'm switching back to like, oh, let me clarify and simplify things.
I don't know. I've got a bit of a opposite take on this because I hear this a lot with like AI stuff, and the concern that I have with that is that like I think people see that and they're like, oh, I don't have to think as much. And I think people lose, like, there is something lost if the tooling becomes like turns into something that you don't need to understand how things are like working.
Okay.
You know, like this guy is coming from the perspective, he just explained it like, oh, instead of thinking about, I need to write all these bash scripts, do all these things to see if it turned out correctly, like blah, 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 whatever. I'm just telling it to do this, this, and this. But it's like you give away this idea of like caring how it's done. And I think for some things that may be okay. But I think this, like that general thought process about AI with like code bases and tooling, like that is bad long term. Yeah. Personally, I think that's bad because I think part of what, and I wrote like a post about this, is like doing part of getting something right is doing it, like understanding what it took to get there. Like there is basically, to me, there are three things that make up becoming like good at something, specifically like in creative fields, which is like your taste, which is just like your filter, like it's your funnel for like how you filter out what's good, what's not good. And like when you see something and you say that's really good, your taste is like understanding why that's good. Then you have like the soul of something, which is like the emotion. You know, like you understand like the emotional connection that something you are making has to the people who will like consume it. And then the other thing is craft. And like craft is like, I think this is like what this idea that like I fight against, which is there is so much that you can come up with when you deeply, deeply understand how something's made.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand if you don't understand your medium, if you don't understand the inner workings, like the gears that make the machine turn, you can't like figure out new ways to create machines. You can only use machines that already exist. And I think that is like the trap that you can get into with all this stuff, is that like you lose that ability to like innovate, because like you're no longer like learning A, B, and C, that then later on when you're working on something different, you can then say, oh, this thing that I like, this connection between, oh, I learned, for instance, like clip masks. Like if you have Claude Code write something that's like, hey, can you like make this whatever, let's say it's like make this image look like a circle.
Yeah.
Then like, and it might use clip masks under the hood, but you don't know. You just know that your image is a circle now. But if you knew about clip masks, if you knew about like how clip masks work, the things that you can do with them, then like the next time you're working on some project, like trying to come up with some idea, you might realize that like clip masks can actually be like any kind of shape. And like you can manipulate where the clip mask is on the screen to like show two different like images. Like there's so many cool possibilities that you lose because you didn't understand the medium and how something was created. You just knew in that moment, I want this outcome. So yes, congratulations, you got your outcome. But what you lost along the way was like your ability to like innovate on new things moving forward, because you know how it works.
Yeah.
Like that's like my beef, I think, with that concept. That being said, like there are about like 100 million tasks that you don't care, like and you don't ever need to care. Like I think you have to pick which medium you care to know. Like for me, it's like design and engineering. Like I want to know the details. I want to know how things are built and made. I want to make them and build them myself because I want to like grow that craft. But like, I don't know, like I'm sure there's going to be lots of like operations stuff for our show where I'm like, great, like I just need this done. I don't care how it's done. Like just do it for me.
Yeah. Like Emmett says, you lose the why behind these things.
Yeah.
I think like that's
a good one.
That's the piece that's like, I think I like combat myself up against is like the ability to, if I know how something is made or created, or I know how I would do it manually, I want to use AI to do it faster and not necessarily to take take away the ability for me to do it. Like I know exactly, I think like that's where I'd love to see like AI continue to grow. And I think it's probably going to get there, maybe not in the next 10 years, but like I want to literally think, like be able to move at the speed of which I think. And I think that's what the trap that we might fall into when it comes to AI is like, oh, most people are like, I just want to do something that I either don't know how to do instead of I want to do something that I just don't have the time to do or that I don't want to do, but you know how to do it. Because I think it's kind of like you said, it's like this process of if you start doing it, then like there's so many things that I like even AI tools or just like things that I like purchase or buy.
Right.
I'm like, oh, I guess I just have to figure a way to use this because I bought it, but I didn't necessarily like buy it for a purpose. It's like, oh, like I might as well figure out a way to do it. And all of a sudden it's just adding more things to like what I should be doing instead of solving like a specific problem. I think that's probably what it comes down to.
There's this like, I don't know. It's like with a lot of things, like they sell you on the hope, like they sell you on the ideal that like I can do XYZ with it before you have XYZ that you even need to be doing. You know,
exactly.
Like we're selling you to a solution before you have a problem. But like at the same way, like AI is a tool in the same way I was talking about, like understanding your medium. You know, like if you want to be good at AI, like that means you have to like just try to solve problems with it, even if it may not be the right solution for that, just to understand how it works. What are like, when does it work best? When is it really not a good fit for something? Like you can't just get that without trying to like throw spaghetti against the wall, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So on that note, are you going to start using Claude Code for something other than
that's a good question. Let me think about that.
I'll
think about that one during the show, and we'll bring it back up at the end because I think that's a good idea.
Funnily enough, not necessarily related to Claude Code, but I use Descript a lot.
Yep, me too.
And
that's what I use to edit Allie and I's podcast. We just like film it right into Descript.
And some of the Descript guys, folks, reach out to me, and I got on a call.
Yep.
Yeah. So I got on a call with them and they're like, oh, like a lot of the stuff that I wanted from Agentic, like like an API standpoint, they're like, oh, our Agentic stuff could do this where it has like the process, kind of like Claude Code type stuff. But now I want to tell them like, oh, just give me an MCP for Claude Code. And then maybe like,
you can like, I don't even have to open
stuff there.
Like I can just like in Flow.
Yeah. Then I can open it up on my desktop in a browser. I can open it up here and I can have all that be done for me and not have to open it up locally. That'd be sick.
Yeah. I think that's actually a really cool idea. I hope that happens. Let me think about the Claude Code thing. And I will get back to you on that. Let's see if I have anything that might be it. I think the thing that I would use Claude Code for is like the MCP stuff. And I've not dug into that enough.
I've not used it outside of development, which I think it's great for, but I've not used it for literally things on my computer. So I'm curious. I might find like one or two MCP things and be like, let me just try it this week. Things that I already used.
You try it. There we go. I don't have to come up with it. You try it. You tell me about it.
There we go. Sweet. Good. So yeah, that's Claude Code's my computer. You mentioned in here, we have our little like show notes. You said being the sun versus black hole. Tell me about that. What does that even mean?
Allie would at this moment look at me and be like, "Why you sound like a fortune cookie?" You know, like. But I was on.
Can I guess first, or should I just let you do it?
Go for it. Hit me. What is your guess about being a sun and being a black hole?
Let me put on my philosophical hat.
LOL.
Or maybe theological
hat.
Have
another hat that you can just like.
I actually had one.
An actual philosophical hat.
I think what you mean by this is that there's a difference between illuminating pieces of information in your life versus just consuming.
Interesting. It is not, but that.
There we go.
Like that's the fun thing about like a metaphor like this is that like you can understand like the comparison and be able to do a bunch of different things. But specifically, I was on a call with a buddy of mine, Tommy, and we were just talking about like how we want to, like what we want our future to be like. As people who like make things and who also like create media for other stuff. There's this idea of like becoming, like when you become, I don't know, like famous is not the right word, but like successful, like when you make it, sometimes for you to make it, some people consume everyone in their path to get there. Okay. They use them, they do partnerships, they do all this kind of stuff, but it's only to serve themselves to reach that goal. But it doesn't help anyone else around them. They just reach their goal at the cost of whatever it takes. That is a black hole. Then there are people who are the sun, and my buddy Tommy is very much that way. Aaron Francis is very much that way. A bunch of our people, like you, are very much that way. And that's how I want to be as well, which is just like, if I quote unquote make it, whatever making it is in my future, the only way I want to get there is by like bringing others with me. Like I want to be doing things with other people. I want to, like, if something works out, like I want it to work out for whoever was doing it with me, or whoever was a part of it. And it just like hit me where it's just like, it is very easy to like identify people who are black holes. And like, I don't like, they have this, both a sun and a black hole have this gravity about them. They pull people towards them. And like, you can see this, but the difference is that like the sun illuminates those that it pulls toward them, and a black hole just consumes them. So like, that's the idea, is like,
interesting.
That is who I want to be. I want to be a sun. I want to be somebody who, as I find success, I want to make sure that the people who helped me find that success, or who I found that success with, are like illuminated by the way I choose to behave and like share and have fun with it. So that's what that is. That's just like, I don't know. It's just like a mantra that I've thought about lately, and like how I want to be.
Is that something that like you've thought about a lot and more recently put into words, or is this a new revelation, I'll call it?
I would say, I don't know if it's like, I don't even know if I'd say I like thought about it a lot. I think it's just something you can feel, you know, like, I put it into words when I was talking with Tommy, because we were specifically hitting on this topic, and it just like popped it, like the metaphor popped into my head, because it was like very much the case where it's like, when you're online and when you're interacting with people, like you can feel people who have a lot of charisma or people who have a lot of success, and how they just kind of like pull people towards them. And like there's also this like feeling you get when you can tell somebody just brought you in their orbit to get something from you.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel good. And like, I'm in this like season, like we're starting this show. I've been writing some like articles for Tommy for his site, uxtools.co, like that kind of stuff, where it's like, I'm like in this season of like, I'm trying to find more success. And like, I don't want other people to feel that the way I got there was like icky for them. Like, I want to do, like, that's why I brought you on here. I'm like, man, I want to do this with like, I want to do this with someone. I want to have fun with someone. I want to find success with somebody, and do just, as I say, dope things with dope people, you know? So like, I've always felt that way. Like I've always felt like it's only fun if it's with somebody, but it's like when we drew that, like talking about it and drew that contrast between people who think that way and people who don't think that way, that it's like, oh, very obvious, the two types of people.
Yeah. I think the tough part, Jay says on YouTube, sounds dope. So
thanks, man.
Dope things, dope people, sounds dope. I think the tough part is like that I constantly have to like, I catch myself doing a lot is like, and like, you know, all of this preface with like, I think both of us are not as like successful as one, we probably want to be. And two is like, like, I think there's a lot more that we could be like our ceiling, I think, in the sense that like, kind of like what we talked about in the initial show is like, this isn't just for fun in a lot of ways. It's for fun, but it's also fun with a purpose. And I think
there we go.
I think the tough part within like that growth of success though, is also like things do change. You're not, you're going to have different relationships with people or different,
true. Doesn't mean everyone's going to be your best friend.
Yep, exactly.
You know, like it doesn't mean like you then need to like make sure like you're bending over backwards for everybody either.
And
I guess it is a very hard line to walk as like life.
That's like the tough line that you talk about. Cause I think like what I completely agree with you in the whole sun versus black hole thing. But at the same time, I think there's also like this, you kind of have to know that you don't want to pretend to be a sun in the moments that you shouldn't be, or that you maybe like to go like with the analogy, like you shouldn't be as bright as you probably were in the past. Cause I think there's so many times I'm like, okay, like, you know, there's so many, there's people that or just like people who now, if I had more time, like I did a couple of years ago, or if I had less of a following or show, there's a lot of comments that people like, oh, like, could you tutor me or like do that? And like, I literally just,
I see what you mean.
I don't have the time to do that. I'd love to.
Right.
I'd love to literally like teach people Laravel like one-on-one, but
you just can't.
I just can't. Or like in some ways it's not necessarily in my best interest or in our collective best interest for that person or that individual to be like, there's better things we both could be doing with our time.
Very interesting. So what you're telling me is that life is not just black or white. Is that what you're saying?
Life is not just sun or black holes.
Yeah. No, that's very true. I think as a metaphor, it's more of like a ideal, you know? Yeah, like
exactly.
That is what you should strive for, is like in any interaction, trying to be the sun as it is, but like, or like, I think there's like, maybe there's the balance is like, there are some times where like the answer is just like to be neither, you know, like don't try to be something that is like pulling people towards.
That's a good thing.
Is like, sometimes you just got to turn it off in certain times, like you said, so that you can focus on time, like the areas that you do need to like have gravity. And like, but it's like when you are trying to pull attention, pull people, something, when you're trying to do that, you like be the sun, not the black hole. Like do it in a way that is positive, not destructive.
Yeah. So like carry on the analogy. Here's a good one for you. So there's going to be times when the sun is hidden.
Ooh,
because it's
like sometimes it's nighttime.
Yeah, sometimes it's nighttime, and like you can't be the sun. But you also, that doesn't mean you should be a black hole at the same time too. Yeah. But to quote Aaron Francis, let's see, we should have like a counter on the screen of like
boom.
I can't remember if it was like a personal conversation he had with me or if it was a podcast. This was like a year and a half ago. I think like maybe even longer.
It all runs together.
Yeah. But it kind of mentioned of like there's times and periods in your life, and this isn't just the like maximum effort type stuff, but there's times and periods in life when it makes more sense to literally say yes to every single opportunity that comes up. And I think like I think that's like part of being like a son.
Is that
like that? I think it's that. It was like a year before that when it was probably named something different.
He had been workshopping it with you.
Yeah, I think this is while he was still at the database company. So
yeah, cool. Yeah, so
this is a while ago.
A little early track. There we go.
Yeah, but like it resonated with me because at that time I remember I literally was unemployed and I was like, okay, I'm just going to like try to be on every single like podcast, like do all this, like all like the stuff to make sure like I am putting out everything that I can possibly like be putting out. But at the same time, like that shifts. So like now I can't do all the stuff I would want to do, but at the same time, like that premise is still there. I think the just like the urgency or just the to go back to the metaphor, the brightness or strength of the sun probably is the thing that changes.
Yeah. I would say that I am currently in, if we're going to just keep stretching analogies, the expand and contract, I think I'm in like a contract place at the moment.
Okay. I like it.
Where like not even like it's just like I want to focus. Like I said yes to a lot of different things the past little bit. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, my company just sold my company, quote unquote, the Royal My. It's not my company, but the company I've worked for just sold. So like I'm gonna have to like onboard to a new job, figure out how I fit into that company, etc. Yeah. I've got like a Laracon talk coming up, and I've got this show and the show with my wife. But like the show with my wife is like no overhead. We just literally jump on the mics and talk. Who cares? But like this is like something that we're like trying really hard on, and it's like I don't want to be a son to you, SUN. I want to like contract my focus to this and put like priority on this so that like we are both pushing this forward well. Versus Will like being like, oh man, Will didn't do the stuff because he like I'm not doing as good of a job as I could have because I'm like saying yes to a bunch of other things. Like I feel really good about this. I'm gonna be putting eggs in a basket, so to speak. So
I feel that there's so much that I've like I always have a million ideas running around in my head at every single moment in time. Usually there are like SaaS ideas that I'm like, oh, I'm gonna
I wish I had a bunch of money. I used to have a bunch of SaaS ideas, but now it's like I'll share. We can get into this at another time, but like the way that I think about ideas has changed, and I kind of want to talk about that. We can do that next week. Like I don't think about
put that down as a topic. That's a good one.
Yeah, like I don't think about software ideas anymore.
Thinking about ideas,
and I actually want to talk about that a little bit. So like let's
mark that down as like this is when we need Claude Code. Like we hook it up to like our
Claude
linear
code,
MCP.
Add a task to linear MCP. Okay, so all right,
I should just connect that.
We're getting into some show back.
Let's
B-roll, so to speak.
Some B-roll.
Why don't we drop? We'll take a little break from the topics real quick. Before we jump in to our final topics for the show, and let's just talk about something that we started figuring out this week, which is a little bit more about like what we're doing.
This is.
It's been a week, another week.
Yeah.
We've
whole 7 days.
Already figured out some process. We've already figured out one thing that we're changing, which is when we were initially starting this, we were calling it a podcast.
Yeah.
And I think we both decided like we don't really want to call it a podcast, even though we will have a podcast, which we do. Go check it out on your podcast player of choice, Riff and Refine. Shout out to Transistor as always. But like we started calling this a show instead of a podcast.
No.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the whole point. First off, like 7 days, 7 times around the sun, if we want to carry that analogy. Like it's there's so much that can change. I feel like we changed everything about like what our thought process is. Not that we changed what our goal is.
Right.
We changed the methods. Like the message stays the same. Method is shifting. And I think it just flows nicely. Like the whole show premise, like first of all, like shout out to everyone hanging out here, mostly Emmett and Jace and a couple others.
Anybody else just floating around? Never feel shy to
feel
jump
free
in, say stuff. We plan on having content in the future that's more interactive with y'all.
Yeah, exactly.
Why we talked, like that's part of this. Like it's becoming a show, not a podcast.
It's a show, and I think like that's it. I think we kind of agreed and kind of came to the conclusion. Like Connor, what's up? Nice to see you. But yeah, I think like we've come to like the agreement that okay, we want to literally try our hardest with this. Like it's not just like like we're hanging out every Friday and just like, you know, like I like hanging out with you. It's fun.
Yeah, absolutely.
But at the same time, I think we both see individuals that we can, and individual shows identities that we can emulate after and be like, oh, I think in a year and a half of solid work, we can be
solid, consistent effort for sure.
Exactly. Solid, consistent, high quality effort. And like, I think that comes down to, okay, treating it like a show means it's not just one form of medium. It is literally how we present, how we show off, how we create, how we riff, how we refine.
Right. For instance, like before when we were thinking about it as like a podcast, like technically we were doing it live. What's up, Drew? Very excited about the game at Mostly Technical. Anyway, back to this. When we're thinking about a podcast, like the way we would think about content or like how we're sharing something here on the show, was very like between you and me. And it's like, hey, like we're going to share this in a way that we hope people hearing this get something out of it. But like it was very much thinking about it in the format of like somebody listening to it later on, and just like consuming something. But then by changing it to like being a show or the show, like we can now like think about like segments and things on the show that involve other people, like something that requires voting, something that like requires like holding us accountable by the next week's show. And like part of that is like we're doing it. Something we both talked about was like we're doing it every Friday at the same time live. And like it's not like okay, well, like this week's it's on Thursday because that's when the guests can do it, and like we try to do it here and there, and like it's live on Friday at 1:30 Central, 2:30 Eastern, and that way people know to show up. The format will be semi-consistent so that people know like what to expect when they come. And then like people also know like, hey, there's also going to be some stuff, like it's a show, so it's like there's some entertainment piece to it now. Like it's not just inspiration or education or anything. Like part of it is like we get to try and entertain, which I know you might be very excited about as someone who has like enjoys improv and comedy and like performing. Like having that entertainment aspect is nice.
I think like that's the part like, hey Connor, hey Drew, hey Harris. I think that's the part that like I think clicks better for a show. One, it's a lot easier to have like that segmentized like kind of content, and we can get into that in a little bit too. But like it's a lot easier to say, okay, everything that we're talking about like is literally stuff that we probably would both either write blog posts about or talk about or make videos about. But one, it might not fit into those topics, or two, it's just fun to do it in front of other people too. Exactly. Like being able to say like, hey, we're just going to hang out and talk about Claude code ruining a Mac computer in the background because you gave it permission to run -rm-rf on everything. And then, but like you have that ability and kind of like back and forth to be able to say within like the guidelines of a show, then you're like, okay, one, like you said, this is consistent. It's the same time, you know, we know we're building up to have it be something that's everyone knows what to expect. But then two, like it's for us to have like another opportunity to hang out with people too.
Absolutely. Yes. Interact. Like, let's use the medium as we were talking about earlier, like with the collective discussion. Like there's part of like understanding, and like I now care about this, you know, like this is now falling in that camp of like I want to understand how live shows work. I want to understand how like people engage, like people who do Twitch streaming and have like actual fans who show up to the stream and like engage with it. You know, like I want there to be community. I want there to be community in our show. Like I want people to show up. I want there to be inside jokes. I want people to be like, you know, Josh did it again, you know, like, or like Josh's hat fell in the background again. Like he needs to really figure out how to get that stuck up there.
I just literally saw that. Yeah.
I saw it happen. I was like, I don't even think he noticed that. So it's like stuff like that. Like I want it to just like feel like hanging out with like buddies, and like podcasts kind of feel that way, but it's very like one way. And I love that this format allows us to like have it be two-way while we're doing it. And it just feels right. So show.
Yeah. I think like it also blends into the fact of like kind of like what you said, like it's like almost like what middle school. I feel like a middle school girl talking like this, but it's almost like, you know, I want the inside jokes, I want the stickers, I want the like,
Yeah.
I want the
That's what we
fun.
all want. Okay, I think that's the real thing. Like, I think everybody wants that. We all want
Oh
it.
yeah,
Like,
we all want it.
we're all adults now, and we miss. I put this on the list as well. Quality time versus quantity time.
Okay.
Like what you're talking about. Like there is value to quality time, but I think nobody really knows about quantity time and why that's important. So we're gonna queue that up for next week.
Yeah. Emma says, I want
Anyway.
to feel like we're sitting in a garage working on a project car together. I like it.
Yes.
I also want,
like we just cracked open like some soda, like some what is it? Y'all all like Coke Zero or Coke Diet Coke or whatever. Like I don't drink sodas, but
I've got a Dr.
Was that
Pepper
DDT?
Zero creamy coconut.
Oh yeah.
I love coconut.
No, I've just got what my daughter calls hydration water. I've got, just
There
like
you go.
you scoop in like a electrolyte powder. Mine's like
I see.
blue raspberry or something. And she goes, "What are you doing?" It's just this powder I put in my drink. It helps me feel hydrated, and so she just calls it hydration drink. So that's what I
think there's opportunities for like building cool things that people in chat can be like, hey, I want to like I say hi. I love inside jokes. I hope to be a part of one someday. Exactly.
The office.
Drew
So
gets
good.
it.
Yeah.
But it'd be cool if like we had like literally like apps, like a Riff and Refine on our website where you during the live show you could like do stuff that shows up on the screen.
Yes. Okay, I'm feeling very inspired by like I got to be a part of Terminal Feud in React Miami.
Yeah,
and just that whole vibe. Like I want that vibe. So anyway, let's keep it moving. We've got a bit to wrap up on. The two last things that we're going to just kind of share some B-roll on about what's going on behind the scenes is like we've kind of deemed this middle section of the show as like links and topics, which is like, there are links, which is just like, hey, we saw something cool and we just want to tell you about it. And we want to explain why we thought it was cool. This kind of, it's like a subtle way of like helping people, like you should do this too. Like you should share stuff that you like and tell people why you like it, because that helps you with your taste, your personal taste. You start to understand why you think something's great, and then you can like reproduce that in your own work because you took the time to like dissect it, etc. Anyway, so that's links. Then we have topics, which is just like philosophical stuff, right? Like
our fun stuff.
Yeah, it's stuff that like we are coming up with. Like maybe it's inspired by a few other things, but like this is something that comes from us. So like links is like external, topics are like internal type stuff, and like that's like what we want to be able to share with y'all. And then there's this last one that I'm gonna pass the baton to you, because I think this is like something that we realized trying to like be transparent about. Like when we say we want to, like we think this can go somewhere, like part of it is like figuring out how to make this an efficient and like scalable channel. And there's like an idea that you had that like we like riffed on together that I think is like going to be hopefully one of the like a foundational block of like how this show operates.
Yeah, I think knowing that our show is like, and full length podcast shows, whether like that's in video or audio form, it takes a while to ramp up. You kind of almost have to have, the friendship following, the people who appreciate us as individuals there. But I think there's also a chance to be able to find ways to hook people and then bring them in. Like I think just for other podcasts, it usually happens with the individuals or it happens with guests. And then they're like, oh, that. But I think there's ways for us having this be a show to take the stuff that we talk about, those links, those topics, those segments, and being like, oh, that 3 to 5 to 8 minutes, that just works really well on its own. And so maybe there is someone that like likes to hear about philosophical stuff about suns and black holes, and they're going to like resonate with that.
Exactly. Yes.
And maybe they'll hate everything else we talk about.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
like,
okay.
I think that like fits with us because like I feel like we are going to have such a broad range of like interests, as will be denoted here in a short moment where we completely flip the type of content that we're sharing. But like this fits in. You and me are both a big fan of Jay Klaus. And one thing that he talks about is like there are discoverability channels and there are relationship channels. And podcasts are always relationship channels. And I think it's the same way with like live shows. Like these things are relationship channels.
Yeah.
They are not going to like get huge numbers while they happen. Over time, you may slowly build up a big following there, but that only happens if you also have discoverability built into like your operations.
Yep.
And like YouTube is a great way to like get discoverability, but like also not in the format that we're trying to do right now. So it's like that's why like the way we're structuring topics and links and like little chunks of the show, like it's one big show, but we're also trying to think about each area of the show as like something that can be clipped out into its own like interesting video. And like one idea that you had that I thought was really good is like let's be thinking like how can we're using StreamYard, and StreamYard has this ability to like put in overlays and like videos and all that like into the stream. Like what can we do to put the things into the stream while we're doing it to reduce the amount of effort in like post process, like in post whatever it's called. I don't know the term, but like when you're processing, editing, doing all that stuff to make things publishable and cutting it all up, you are like let's figure out how to leverage that to like make that work as easy as possible. And I thought that was a fantastic idea.
Yeah. I think it makes a whole lot easier. That's why I do. And like my personal stuff is like, okay, how can I like be as
like the king of that
lazy as possible after I press record?
Yeah.
Well, mostly because
we're not lazy, we're efficient.
Yeah, exactly. I overthink things, and I don't want to overthink things to the point that it holds off publishing stuff. Like even just like this past episode, I was trying to find ways to like improve quality because I had forgotten to record our individual video and audio separately, and so like it's stuff that no one else cares about, but you do.
Right.
And like I think making stuff so easy that it's just like, oh, I just run this through a prompt or whatever that might be, and it just pushes it out. Like I think that's the win, because then it allows us to do the stuff that we want to do of 100%. Outside of the show.
Yep. All right, did you see this? This is like what I'm talking about, where it's like, okay, we all know we love Aaron Francis and like his newsletter. If you're not subscribed to Aaron Francis's newsletter, which is like the good parts of the internet and like updates on like his business stuff, you need to, because he always has really good tweets. If you like us, if you continue to like us and our content, you'll definitely, if you're not already an Aaron Francis fan, you'll love it. But yeah, that would be hilarious if we did a live reading right now. If I wasn't so excited about like the 2 topics we have left, then I 100% would. Sorry, Emmett. We are not going to read it live at the moment. However, we are going to wrap up B-roll, and I want to.
And we might also have a newsletter coming out soon too. So
we do. We definitely need to. I always forget to like talk about that kind of stuff, but I meant to add that as my updates. Note to self.
That can be for next week.
Oh, next week, actually add notes into the update section.
There you go.
So,
all right, you got a link here.
There is this video that I saw, and I want to share. What I'm about to do is like play a video for you guys. So like everybody, buckle up, because there's about to be like more noise than us. You don't have to plug your ears, but
we did watch the keyboard video, Kyle.
So like I saw this video and it like really struck a chord with me. LOL. You'll see what I mean. But I'm going to talk about like why it struck a chord with me after we watch it.
Did I steal this from somewhere? Like, this is so good. I'm like, oh my God, like the next week of my life, I'm going to feel incredible because I've made this. I think one of the revelations for me was this like sort of false note here, which that's not quite in key, but I wanted to have this feeling of the synth being so loud that it's almost like pitch unstable. This is how it sounded before processing. That fuzziness comes from a low frequency oscillator being put onto the pitch of the lead. And then I was like, how do I make this more intense? So the first thing is just a massive amount of 1K, because I associate the 1K with like a scream. That's all 1K, you know? And then I just ran that into a bit of distortion. And you're basically there. I also used a plugin called Reverb that adds these like late swells, this like. The real breakthrough for this song was once I wrote that lead synth melody. That was the moment where I stood up and walked around the studio 150 times listening to it. Like, did I steal this from someone?
All right, there we go. So I saw that clip. And I was just like, one, how sick does that sound? Like, it just hit me. I was like, oh man, that feels so good. And like, you hear him talk about it and he says this, like the same thing. So there's like a few things that like it made me think of. One, like he really broke down like how he made that clip, like how he made that sound effect. And like, oh, I love that. Like, I want us to be that, you know, like I want us to be able to like break down content of like how something was made so that people watch this and they're just like, wow, they've got a really deep expertise in something. And now I feel like I understand something that I didn't before. Like I want to be that. And like, I really love consuming that. Like if you have stuff like that, like I watch a ton of like woodworking videos as well. And like, it's all stuff like that, where it's like, clearly these people just have a very deep knowledge of like their craft. And like, they are willing to get on here and try to break it down in like layman terms for me. And I love it. So yes, that's like one part. The other part is this clip hits on something that I feel very like in my like soul, which is good creative work hinges on a moment. Which is, and it is not just like suddenly you're like, he clearly is somebody who makes music. I will share, it was on this show called Tape Notes Podcast. We'll share like the link in the description. But the artist, like he makes a lot of music and he knows what he's doing. But in the video, you hear him say like, oh man, like I knew I wanted it to be kind of like this. And you can tell it, he was like, the process was like, I'm just exploring, I'm trying things like, you know, and then suddenly he's like, and then I did this and I immediately like was walking around the room so excited for like, blah, blah. It's like, that's what like creativity work feels like. Creative work is like, you feel like you're doing everything wrong. You know, like your taste is like, man, like I really know what I want this to be. And then, but like it's also telling you like, this is not it. Like you keep, like for me, it's design. Like I keep designing something and designing something and designing something. And it's like, man, this is not it. Like, this is terrible. Like I'm such a garbage designer. And then like, it takes like one moment, like you just do one thing different. You try some new approach, some new design. And it just like, it's like that light bulb moment where you're just like, all the dopamine hits all at once and you're just like, this is incredible, you know, like, oh, it's so good. And so like this clip just like really hit for me, because I was like, man, like this is like music, it's a different creative field, but it's the same process for like creative work, where it's like you have to be willing to just like put the work in, try things, iterate on things, do something different, because like and don't like, sometimes you have to like settle for time constraints or whatever, but like for art, for stuff that is like creatively fulfilling, that has no timeline, like sometimes you just have to do something and do something and do something until like something like you'll get there, and like it happens in an instant, you know. And it's just like, oh, that's like, I wanted to share that because that's just like what that clip like that clip encapsulated design process for me. Yeah,
it's almost like you see it a lot within indie hackers. I follow this guy named Josh Bigford.
He's in Birmingham, not about 2 hours away from me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, he sold Barometrics. That was like his big one. But like literally, I mean, he has older kids, so that's probably like one of the reasons he can do this. But like I see him like make an application literally every other weekend, or it just seems like he's like literally making something that he's then,
or launches people the same financial software 3 different times.
That too. But he has this page on his website that is literally filled with, I don't know, 40, 50 different lists of things that he's made over the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And here's the things I've launched, the things. And it's like, this video is a perfect encapsulation, kind of like you said, of design process, creative process, but it's also a perfect encapsulation of like the overnight success kind of thing. Of like, him tinkering away with every single like little piece of music that he's probably played in some way, shape, or form millions of times, but all of a sudden now like the perfect combination of these little pieces of you know, the reverb with the high cut, like 1K.
1K is like shouting, you know, like
he knows,
like each of these, like he can hold this mental map in his head
Yep.
of like, here's all the things I have to work with. And then like he has a canvas to like try to put them together. And then his job is to like judge that output and see if it like fit with what he had envisioned. And like, yeah. Oh, yes. That's
Exactly.
like taste, soul, and craft. Like taste is like knowing whether it's good or not. Craft is being able to like know what all the pieces are in that mental map to put them together. And then like soul is like that feeling, that emotion that you know, like you nailed it. It's just like, oh, you can just feel it.
I love it. I love it. It's funny that you put this link in here because I'll jump into my last topic.
Please do. Please do.
I didn't actually know what this link was about. I just saw that it just takes a moment. I was like, this is one of my topics that I said. But I have gotten in. So those who don't know, I am probably more of a music person than Will.
100%.
But
I don't actually play any instruments.
I play some instruments. I play, keys, guitar. I sing. I just like the creativity of music. And I put in this topic of like what AI looks like within music generation. Basically, like here's what my take on AI is within music generation. Here's what it currently is doing, and here's where I see it in the future. Because I think it's a little bit different than code, surprisingly. Well, maybe not surprisingly. I have this talk that I've been working on probably for like the past a year and a half. I wanted it to be my first talk.
Yes.
But no one has accepted it yet.
That's fine.
But it'll happen soon.
It'll happen.
I have this talk called Music as Code. And I think the art of creating music and hearing music and knowing kind of like everything that happened here is really just code in a different waveform.
It really is.
It is just a bunch of different numbers and variables and things shifted or visualized in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And the funny thing is AI music generation, I think, is currently and probably in the future getting things better from a standpoint than code. I'll drop a couple of links in the show notes of like, here's like the AI tools that I've tried out, but usually all of them are like, hey, give me, I want to describe, and you have to know specific genres. You have to know, like what kind of feel you want. I want this dark synth driven song about this specific lyrics. You don't really get that in code. In code for current AI, kind of like what we talked about with Claude Cursor, it's more of like, give me a to-do list. You don't say, give me some divs that loops over a thing that someone is able to input information. Like you almost have to be more specific in AI music generation,
right?
Because it is so subjective. And I think AI code is more of like, if you don't give it any instructions, it's going to default to the popular stuff. It's going to default to React. It's going to default to Next.js, maybe Tailwind.
Okay. Right. So like you're thinking of it as like music. Okay. I see where you're going with this.
Yeah.
Lots of that could be, man, you could talk about that for forever.
I can do it forever. My last final thought that I'll talk about just to kind of like wrap it up is I think the cool thing that I think I see music as AI generation going towards, that I think we can see more code going towards, or just like code generation.
Is comparison.
In a comparison type of field. I think music generation right now and in the foreseeable future is used as inspiration rather than.
Oh, I like this. Yes.
Rather than starting point, if that makes sense.
Yes.
As AI for code, if I open up Claude Code, if I open up Cursor, usually I'll be like, hey, give me an MVP of this specific, like to-do list. And all of a sudden it works it up. And then I tweak the stuff like that. But I'm still on this base level. I'm never like creating it from scratch and like replicating it. AI within music is more of like, oh, I didn't think about having that particular melody or synth, or maybe like he heard this 1K cut, 1K boost, and some other music thing. And it's like, oh, let me try it. I'm saving that in and bringing it out.
Yep.
I have been using AI music thing to be able to be like, oh, I like that like little melody. And now I'm going to play it out while I'm listening to it. I'm playing it out and then be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. I'm just going to take bits and pieces. I'm just going to riff on it.
Okay, I love that. Okay, so I saw a tweet that was not like a tweet that was like basically use AI to generate the first version of your idea, then delete all of it and write it again yourself, which was just like that same concept. Like the thing they were trying to say was like, explore the problem space, figure out all the rough edges, figure out all the things that like you need to know to like capture the full, like that's like what you should be doing. Like that's like good engineering, is like creating the whole thing, figuring it out along the way, then deleting it all and writing it again, because the second time you write it, you're going to know about like what you figured out in the final moments and be able to factor that into how you're like writing your like APIs and like your system from the beginning. And like that is like very much a better way of thinking about it. And how like I think music, what you're talking about is like, well, let me just get like some inspiration. Like let me pull in, like I went and explored a bunch of these different like things to put together some kind of melody or some kind of like, I don't know, whatever other music terms there are. And like you can take those and then do it again with those as like the ingredients. And I love that. That is so good.
Exactly.
One other thought that I had, this needs to get thrown out there.
This is
the dotted 1/8 praise and worship song is like, man, he's on the metaphor. Track. He knows what's up. Yeah.
That's all of them. So there's nothing new to gain inspiration from there. Although we've now had water reference and sun and light reference. So like we've really hit on just about all that we can. Speaking of like that type of songs, though, I have used AI for music to remix my own songs too. So I've recorded songs mostly for like church stuff, but I've taken like the lyrics and even recordings, and you can use them as ingredients in AI. And like it will be like, oh, what about I'll be like, hey, turn this into like a synth driven like poppy type song, and all of a sudden like it like reimagines it, adds some vocals.
That's really cool. Okay, we need to get all right. Just so we know, we're gonna wrap that up because we're pretty close to time. But this is my like, as we go into like what we have coming up, you need to do that. Like you need to like demo this. I want to see this work, even if it's just like a really small example of it. Like I just want to see this workflow and how it works. But like awesome. one last note that I had that I wrote down when you said like what did you say, like music as code is what the title was or something. The way that I thought it, like that immediately popped into my head, which is just like both of them are just languages, you know, like it is just a language that you're speaking, and like one of them is in the form of like notes and measures, and the other is in the form of like numbers and data, you know, like that kind of stuff. So it's like they're all just communication. It's just like a different medium, but you're still trying to do the same thing. So like 100% agree. What a great comparison to do. Not to mention like another part of music where it's got harmonies and chords and like it's got rules, just like coding logic has rules. Like there are rules that you can be able to say like this is what makes certain music good, to like stay within this boundary, and then also like sometimes you can break that boundary in specific ways that's still good. I don't know. Anyway, we'll 100%. Stop. But yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
So last week we talked about what you did last week. Will, tell me what you're doing for next week. Like what's up on the docket?
So next week on the docket is like officially first week at the new company. So I'll probably be bogged down with like a lot of that onboarding type work. I got my new work laptop here that I've got to set up, etc. But for the next show, I'm going to bring a demo of the thing that I'm building for my Laracon talk. And I'm not going to like do too much to like give away the rest of the talk, but I do want to just like demo what I've been doing, because I think it's super fun, and would like to like talk a little more of the details than I will in my talk for people on the stream. So that is what I'm doing next week.
Very nice. Very nice. I'm going to be in London next week. So most of my week's going to be taken up with,
and when did you say you're getting back?
I'm getting back Thursday night, like late Thursday night. I'll be fresh and ready for next Friday. Oh,
so fresh.
Yeah, I get back at like 11 p.m. my time on Thursday. So it'll be okay. We'll see how much I sleep.
Rest. We'll see how the jet lag is rolling into show on Friday.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't too bad with India.
I can't wait to hear how your talk goes.
It's gonna be awesome. Like next week, Taylor kind of already announced it, but like Night Watch is launching next week, and so I get to give a talk about Night Watch.
Oh, that's what
it'll be fun.
That's gonna be good. Okay,
yes, that has been my life and breath and everything.
You're the official launch announcement talk.
Yeah, I don't think it was necessarily planned that way, but that's how it works. Tell Dan Carl says hi. I will let him know, Carl. But yeah, so next week I'm mostly just focusing on that, but like for next week for the show, I want to do the kind of like an AI music demo of like some stuff that I've learned.
I love it. Perfect.
And then I'm still working on my mobile app, and there's some fun things that I learned through that too. So that's why I'm working on for next week.
Sounds great. Well, I think that wraps it up. We're gonna have, I think, a pretty good show next week as well. So make sure y'all join us. Because I did not mention it at any point during the show, and now at the end of the show is like the worst time to do it. I'll do it at the start of the show next time as well. But if any of you are still here, we need to have intro music for sure. We'll get there. We'll have our own custom intro music at some point. This is like part of the mantra is like we are figuring it out as we go. Some things are polished, some things are not. Things will get more polished the more we do it. But we're not going to like kill ourselves to get it right before we publish, so to speak.
Yep.
Oh,
100%.
No, never mind. Oh, that's a good idea. I was thinking immediately about the show, but that's true. I will have intro music for Lyra, or maybe not. Who knows what they're doing? But so I updated our website, riffandrefine.fm. It has a newsletter sign up there. If you have not put your email in, which none of you have because you didn't know it existed, you should head over there, because like we are going to share like the links from the show, as well as probably like a couple extra links with each newsletter for like things that we don't think are like going to make it in the show, but we really liked. We're just going to like use the newsletter as a way to push even more of our links and topics type stuff to you. So definitely jump on that. That's where we're going to send like news, links, summaries, exciting things. So hop on, and then like also like bug us if something seems broken, because I wrote it. And I'm not like the most incredible Laravel dev. So LOL. Perfect. That's all I got. You got anything?
I don't got anything. I'm excited for next week.
Awesome.
This is fun.
Peace.